While waiting for food at the restaurant, the waitress splashed water on me several times. My shirt was completely soaked, and you could even see my underwear through it. The waitress didn't apologize at all. Instead, she laughed and teased that my clothes were too old. I asked her to apologize, but my boyfriend complained that I was overreacting. Other customers started to pay attention to us, and the young girl looked displeased, crying that I was making things difficult for her. When it was time to pay, I saw my boyfriend chatting and laughing with the young girl, and I immediately stopped reaching for my wallet. The cashier handed over the bill, and only then did my boyfriend realize what was happening. He awkwardly tried to grab my arm. I turned around and left, telling my parents that this boyfriend was not suitable and that I would take back all the resources I gave him. If he won't listen, then I'll find someone else. Waitress, it's been an hour. Why hasn't our double meal been prepared yet? I had been ignored several times and couldn't help but stop that young waitress. She replied, I know. Can't you see I'm busy? The young girl answered perfunctorily, her face full of irritation. I was a bit surprised and couldn't help but complain in my heart about my boyfriend's little lover having such a bad temper. First, pour me a cup of hot water to warm up my body. If you feel cold, just go home and stay there. How pretentious. The waitress shot me a glare and mumbled as she walked away. I noticed someone secretly recording a video and couldn't help but smile slightly. After more than 10 minutes, the little girl slowly walked over with a kettle. I was lost in thought until the hot water overflowed the cup and spilled onto the table. The girl pouring the water shrugged nonchalantly, showing no intention of apologizing. Bring me some napkins, I said coldly. Napkins are charged extra. The girl put her hands on her hips and shouted loudly. My boyfriend joked that she definitely didn't mean it and told me not to take it too seriously. Let's start over. This time, the girl accidentally knocked over the cup. On the third try, as soon as she let go, the entire kettle fell onto me. I was momentarily stunned, and hot water spilled all over my shirt. Ah! I cried out in pain, my voice quite loud. The girl raised her chin, stood up to me, and said, Sister, your drinking capacity is truly remarkable, even better than a water buffalo. You're not trying to get free hot water from the restaurant, are you? I was so angry I could almost laugh. I had to go find the manager to complain. Hearing the commotion, other customers also turned to look over here. The girl gently leaned closer to me and whispered a few words. Then, she stepped back, bowed to me, and put on a pitiful expression. She said, Sister, it was my fault. The water was too hot, and I accidentally spilled it. I'm sorry. I apologize to you. Please don't hit me, and don't complain about me. I said I would help you wipe your clothes. At that moment, the waiter brought over a dirty, greasy rag from the cleaning area, and surprisingly tried to wipe it on my chest. I smelled that awful greasy odor and immediately felt nauseous, instinctively stepping back. Get away from me! Not too pleased, I waved my hand, and my boyfriend Daniel stepped in to mediate. Olivia, it's not a big deal. Don't be so calculating. Be a bit more forgiving. Other customers who weren't fully aware of the situation also urged me to be more magnanimous. Daniel, are you still my boyfriend? Didn't you see that I got burned? But it seems Daniel didn't hear me and went over to the waiter. It hurts so much, it's really painful. I think I got burned. Boo-hoo. The waitress covered her arm and complained to Daniel with a sense of grievance. How could it be this serious? You should go get some burn cream to put on it. Daniel's tone was very gentle, his eyes full of concern, completely ignoring me, the real girlfriend. I couldn't help but tease her from the side. What a little girl, acting so well, she could win an Oscar. Clearly, I was the one who was wronged, yet she cried first. Can't you just stop? Daniel's expression darkened. Olivia, you really are heartless. You're the one who's truly heartless. Daniel, are you blind or just doing this on purpose? I retorted loudly. Upon hearing this, the restaurant owner immediately stopped and eagerly waited to hear the commotion. Daniel noticed the gazes around us and felt very angry. He said to me, Olivia, you are always so self-righteous. After saying that, he grabbed my arm and pulled me aside. When he pressed on my burn, it hurt so much that I couldn't help but want to cry. Daniel thought I was being unreasonable for demanding that I apologize to the waiter in the restaurant. I tried to calm myself down and retorted, It's Valentine's Day today. Do you really want to make such a scene? Daniel was taken aback for a moment, hesitating a bit. The young waitress suddenly started crying, looking very aggrieved. Seeing this, Daniel's heart tightened, and he shielded the girl behind him. After all, It was just an ordinary holiday. There are many such days every year. Don't think I haven't noticed. You just want to use this opportunity to force me into marriage. Hearing Daniel's annoying tone, I really wanted to find a mirror for him to see himself. If I didn't have thoughts about a business marriage, I wouldn't have chosen an ordinary guy like Daniel. In the first few years, he treated me very well, and I gradually let my guard down and started to invest my feelings sincerely. As soon as he graduated, my family helped him manage some resources, allowing him to develop well in our branch company. I originally thought that after a few years of dating, we could consider getting married. A friend told me that Daniel has been getting quite close to a girl recently. Today, when I saw that waitress, I felt that not only was I not observant enough, but Daniel's taste was also questionable. Daniel, we need to have a serious talk. After waiting for several seconds without hearing his response, I looked up at him. Daniel was flirting with the waitress. Perhaps sensing my gaze, he immediately looked away. What? What did you just say? I didn't answer and just stared at him quietly. He felt a bit uncomfortable under my gaze, coughed a few times, and said with a slightly unhappy tone, Olivia, the waitress doesn't live as comfortably as you do every day. If you continue to be so indifferent, don't ask me why I punched Daniel in the chest later. I don't need you to teach me how to act. Daniel turned red in the face from what I said and simply turned away to avoid looking at me. As time ticked by, it was clear that this meal was going nowhere. When it was time to pay, Daniel naturally stepped back. After all these years, he has relied on my affection for him, and his expenses are supported by his shamelessness. I didn't pay much attention to these things when I was younger, but just now, seeing him make eye contact with the waiter, I suddenly lost the desire to continue spending. Excuse me, how would you like to pay for the 858 yuan? The cashier saw that I didn't respond and asked again. I took a step back and pretended not to hear. Daniel was stared at by the cashier, unsure of what to say, and could only hesitate while letting me pay. What? It's Valentine's Day dinner. You don't want to pay, do you? I raised my voice, covered my mouth, and exaggeratedly widened my eyes. Daniel could only look helpless, reluctantly taking out his money, mumbling that these dishes were really expensive, practically a rip-off. I chuckled lightly. He didn't say anything when we just ordered, but now that it's time to pay, why so much chatter? The young waitress revealed her dissatisfaction when she saw the payment was successful. Why should you feel sorry when someone else's boyfriend pays the bill? If you didn't know better, you might think you have some connection with my boyfriend. I patted the young girl's shoulder and said half-jokingly. As soon as the words were spoken, both Daniel and the waiter were slightly taken aback. Everyone's attention shifted back to this side. What nonsense are you talking about? Daniel seemed a bit nervous, his voice trembling and his words jumbled. I rested my chin on one hand, shifting my gaze between the two of them. But why do I feel like you two have met before? The young girl was taken aback for a moment, then quickly said she had something to do and hurried away. I didn't ask any further. Letting them worry was even more interesting. On the way back, the space in the car was small, and Daniel and I started a cold war. After a while, once the heater was on, I felt sleepy and dozed off. When I woke up, Daniel was focused on his phone, completely unaware of me. I sneaked over to take a look and found a cute cat avatar in the chat box. It's not your fault. That woman was just too domineering. Thanks for your support, brother Daniel. I will definitely work harder. In the end, the other party even sent 3 heart emojis. Daniel smiled happily and replied with a smiling emoji. I secretly recorded a video, feeling a mix of emotions inside. After the screen turned off, Daniel realized what he was doing and wondered why he was so focused. Suddenly being asked by me, Daniel looked a bit uneasy and quickly changed the topic. Are your parents still pressuring you to get married this year? I straightened up and smiled, asking him, do you want to get married? After a moment, Daniel hesitated and said, my career is just starting, I don't have time to think about this. Seeing him hesitating, I immediately interrupted him. If you don't want to get married, then there's no need to. Upon hearing this, Daniel instantly felt a weight lifted off his shoulders and seemed much more relaxed. Then, I smiled and said, I'm not insisting on you. The air suddenly became still. I opened the passenger door and turned to leave. Daniel caught up to me and tightly grabbed my wrist. Olivia, even jokes have their limits. Don't always lose your temper. The girl has just started working. Can't you consider that a bit more? Is it really necessary to react this way over such trivial matters? I lifted my head, stared at Daniel, and asked him how he knew she just started working. Daniel's gaze was a bit evasive, and after mumbling for a while, he still didn't clarify. At that moment, the phone rang. Daniel signaled to me that it was a work call. During the call, the assistant only asked a few simple questions, but he was different from usual, rambling on for a long time without hanging up. The wind was making my head ache a bit, and I just wanted to get home quickly. After the call ended, Daniel seemed to forget about the earlier argument and started chatting. "Just take me home first." I sighed and softly said a few words. Daniel nodded, was about to open the car door when his phone suddenly rang with several messages. Through the reflection of the car window, I vaguely saw that same cat avatar had sent some photos. The hand in the photos was resting on a thigh, looking quite enticing. A voice message came in. The other party said her hand hurt a lot and she was going to the hospital, which was really heartbreaking. The cold wind was messing up my hair, and I tightened my coat, waiting for Daniel's decision. Sure enough, disappointment returned. Daniel didn't hesitate at all and started speaking hesitantly. "Olivia, I suddenly remembered that there's something at the company I need to take care of, so I have to head back for a bit. After all these years together, I feel a bit sad and don't want to compromise. Let's go back and eat." Daniel frowned. "Stop being so sensitive all the time." I took the car keys from Daniel. "This is the car my parents bought. If you want to take someone else, you should buy your own car." I stepped on the gas and drove off, leaving Daniel in a cloud of exhaust. The image of my boyfriend anxiously worrying about another girl kept replaying in my mind. I felt a mix of anger and confusion. It's hard to believe that after just a few months of business trips, my once devoted boyfriend has changed his heart. When I was 18 and starting college, under family pressure, I officially began my relationship with Daniel, who had nothing. Although my parents disagreed, they still let me decide for myself, hoping I wouldn't regret it. Daniel vowed to work hard to earn money and marry me once he succeeded. I always supported him wholeheartedly, helping him with various chores, and days went by like this. Our savings slowly increased, but our relationship became more distant. I don't know when it started, but Daniel stopped bringing up marriage and always avoided the topic. The more I thought about it, the more confused I became, and just as I was lost in thought, I collided with an oncoming electric bike. I immediately snapped back to reality and quickly got out of the car to check the situation. The man on the electric bike was fine at first. He quickly picked up his bike and tried to leave. But when he saw that I was alone and a girl, he ran back and intentionally fell in front of my car to pretend we had collided. I felt helpless and pointed at the dashcam to communicate with the man. However, he refused to back down and insisted on getting something from me. When the traffic police arrived, everyone discussed it for a long time before finally resolving the issue. I felt very wronged and, unwillingly, called Daniel several times, but he didn't answer. By the time I got home, it was almost dark. "Forget it, since I'm feeling wronged, I won't continue with this. Come to my company, I guarantee you'll be very comfortable. It's my fault, I didn't expect her to choose that restaurant of yours. Don't cry, it hurts me to see you cry." In the bedroom, Daniel was on the phone. I listened to how he spoke to another girl, full of affection, and then looked at those love knots in the house, feeling a bit ironic inside. Half an hour later, Daniel reluctantly said goodbye to the other person. As soon as he opened the door, he saw me sitting in the living room, looking a bit pale. "What are you doing here? Sitting still? You really scared me in the middle of the night." Before I could speak, Daniel started to blame me first. He said, "Olivia, you're almost 30, and you get angry over such small things." I retorted, "What did I do wrong to make you so unhappy?" Daniel raised an eyebrow, looking me over as if he had never seen me so cold. After confirming that I was fine emotionally, he took a couple of steps closer, cleared his throat, and then asked me why I insisted on complaining about that young waitress today. "She already apologized to you politely. What more do you want?" I raised my hand to tell Daniel to be quiet and said, "Does an apology mean forgiveness? Then I could hit you now and apologize afterward. Would that be okay? Besides, I really couldn't tell if she was sincerely apologizing." Daniel slapped the table, looked at me angrily, and felt very disappointed. "Emily is still young. It was an unintentional mistake." I yawned, wiped the tears from my eyes, and sighed, saying that Emily is a really nice name. No wonder my boyfriend keeps thinking about her. Daniel snapped back to reality, unable to say a complete sentence for a long time. I stood up and made eye contact with him. Time passed second by second. Daniel's eyes darted quickly. His struggling to find an excuse was quite funny. After a while, he finally decided to stop thinking and casually said, "Emily is a student I sponsor. Don't make things difficult for her." What a grand statement. Daniel's current wealth and status are all thanks to my family's help. He still relies on others to get by, yet he thinks about helping others. Maybe he has already had other thoughts about others. Seeing me angry, Daniel still chose to support Emily. "So that means you have known each other for a long time and have already crossed boundaries." Daniel was very angry after being exposed and accused me of not understanding the hardships he has faced. He said his family is not well off, and many people look down on him. Only Emily, as the impoverished college student he sponsors, can resonate with him. I quickly told him to stop. "I'm not responsible for your family's situation, and that's not an excuse for your infidelity. Also, don't look down on poor students, nor underestimate college students." I'm feeling very uncomfortable. Seeing he couldn't argue with me, Daniel muttered something unreasonable, stood up, and left, slamming the door hard. By 10 o'clock at night, the only one who might accept Daniel would be that poor Emily. I called a locksmith to change the locks. Since Daniel is already tired of a carefree life, I'll just let him go. My parents sent a message, wanting to know how I was doing today. It's that time of year again, Valentine's Day. Have you two talked about your future plans? Did Daniel mention anything about proposing or getting married? I looked at the screen and felt a bit sad inside. The next afternoon, I went to the company, and a familiar face appeared in front of me. It was the same waiter who had poured hot water on me before, still the impoverished student sponsored by Daniel, and my boyfriend's little lover, Emily. What a coincidence to see you again. Emily is dressed very elegantly, wearing designer clothes, and her hair has just been permed and dyed, showing no signs of financial difficulties. Colleagues around us all stepped back, watching the spectacle from a distance. I glanced at Emily with a hint of disdain in my heart. Emily casually tossed her hair, smiled slightly, and said, "It was all because of you, big sister. Who told you to complain about me, causing me to lose my job? Now, my brother Daniel feels sorry for me, so he brought me in as his personal secretary." Emily looked at me with a smile, her face full of pride. "A poor student? What you're lacking is not money, but character, right? Being a third party attached to the boss doesn't seem to align with the spirit a poor student should have." I raised my voice to ensure my colleagues could hear me. As soon as the employees heard this, their eyes lit up. "You're talking nonsense. You're spreading rumors." In the disdainful gaze of the employees, Emily lost her composure and shouted loudly. In the chaotic situation, Emily actually pulled my hair. I hurriedly pushed her away, but my scalp still hurt from the tug. Suddenly, Emily shouted loudly and fell backward to the ground. There was a rapid sound of footsteps approaching from behind. I immediately understood, snorted, "This kind of framing technique can work once, but today with me, do you want to try it again?" Sure enough, as soon as I finished speaking, that heartless person Daniel hurried over. "Olivia, please don't be angry. I know you don't have a good impression of me, but you made me lose my job. I just managed to start over. Please don't make things difficult for me anymore." Emily covered her face with her hands and couldn't help but cry. Daniel bent down and gently helped Emily up. "Olivia, quickly apologize to Emily," Daniel commanded loudly, leaving no room for rebuttal. I might be feeling unwell due to anger, leaning against the wall to barely support myself. Can she really accept an apology from the mistress? Seeing them snuggling up intimately in front of me made me feel a bit uncomfortable. Emily walked over unsteadily and said with a tone of grievance, "Olivia, you pushed me away. Shouldn't you say sorry to me? If you make a mistake, you should apologize. You wouldn't want others to think you're lacking in manners, right?" "She's really pleased." I pointed a finger at the ceiling. Emily looked a bit confused and didn't quite understand. The company's surveillance system is quite professional, with extensive coverage, capable of monitoring every corner, and can be checked at any time. As I finished speaking, Emily's confident expression appeared somewhat uneasy. "Ryan, help me adjust the surveillance. Let Miss Emily recall the earlier situation." At this moment, although she tried to remain calm, her face finally showed a tense expression. "Enough. It's just a small matter. Why make such a big deal out of it? This is a company, not a place where you can give orders as you please." Daniel stopped Ryan, wanting to end this farce. I had a severe pain in my lower abdomen, and my legs felt a bit weak. Daniel, I'm not feeling well. Can you take me to the hospital first? Hearing this, Daniel instinctively wanted to support me. Seeing this, Emily spoke up again. Daniel, don't worry about me. Go check on Olivia instead. She might be a bit jealous because you accompanied me to the hospital yesterday and stayed by my side all night. To outsiders, Emily is a lovely and considerate girl. But I know that with every word she speaks, her sense of pride grows stronger. Daniel originally wanted to ask me a few questions, but upon hearing Emily, he immediately showed a look of annoyance. Olivia, you know how busy the company is. Could you not be so impulsive? I'm very tired and don't have time to deal with your little emotions. I no longer have the strength to argue. Daniel's voice became increasingly faint in my ears. The last thing I saw before fainting was Emily and Daniel walking into the office together. They were chatting and laughing, looking very close. Sometimes, something you've held onto for years can suddenly be let go in an instant. I used to feel angry and unwilling, wanting to give up but also reluctant. At this moment, I have completely let go. In a daze, Ryan from the company's logistics took me to the hospital. I seemed to hear Ryan talking to someone about the situation. I could hear Daniel's unhappy voice on the phone. I know her body well. There shouldn't be any major issues. She's just pretending to scare people. All right. Stop calling me. I have things to handle over here. Afterward, Emily kept pestering Daniel with questions, her voice a bit annoying. Ryan hung up the phone and stole a glance at me, too afraid to speak. I mumbled, "It's fine, I don't care anymore." Daniel is truly disappointing. However, he and Emily do seem to be a good match. I must get back everything that belongs to my family. The disinfectant smell in the hospital is very strong, and I feel a twinge of unease. I'm pregnant, but I'm showing signs of a miscarriage. Moreover, more seriously, the doctor said there may be a risk of fetal deformity. The situation isn't optimistic, and you need to be mentally prepared. The doctor looked at the examination report, and his expression was somewhat heavy. Ryan, who came along, was quite frightened and immediately wanted to take out his phone to call. I quickly grabbed Ryan's hand and said firmly, "This has nothing to do with you, no need to tell Daniel. My child, I make the decisions." After my persuasion, Ryan finally agreed to keep this matter confidential. After signing a pile of consent forms, I chose to end the pregnancy on the day I confirmed I was pregnant. Lying on the treatment bed, I felt my whole body was stiff. I looked up at the surgical lights, and tears flowed uncontrollably. It hurts, every nerve in my body is in pain. These few hours have really made me feel unbearable. As soon as the surgery was over, I felt dizzy and had no idea what to say. "Olivia, what's wrong?" I turned my head and mechanically looked at my parents rushing in. "I sensed something was off with your emotions when we talked on the phone last night." Sure enough, my parents rushed to New York overnight and searched everywhere in the company and at home but couldn't find you. It was only when I inquired that I found out you were in the hospital. My mom was there nagging, and I felt a bit confused. When the doctor came to ask about your condition, my parents finally understood what had happened. "What? You had a miscarriage?" My parents stood there, their faces filled with concern and heartache. My dad was very angry and determined to confront Daniel for an explanation. After talking on the phone in the hallway for 10 minutes, Dad returned to the ward, his face full of worry. It wasn't long before Daniel arrived. He asked, "Olivia, are you okay?" I really didn't expect it to turn out this way. After being scolded by Dad, Daniel half knelt by the bedside, stammering an apology. I shifted to the other side of the bed, wanting to distance myself from him. "I hope you believe me. I really didn't want you to encounter any accidents. I always thought you were pretending to be sick out of jealousy." Dad angrily rushed forward and punched Daniel in the left cheek again. A few seconds later, a large bruise appeared on Daniel's face. Mom stood up and blocked the angry Dad. "Don't stop me. I have to teach this guy a lesson." Dad's face turned red with anger, veins bulging, as he rolled up his sleeves, ready to continue fighting. "Once Olivia's health improves a bit, we'll settle the score." Mom managed to calm Dad down and sent Daniel away. The ward became quiet. I held my dad in one arm and my mom in the other, wanting to cry but unable to shed a tear. The two elderly people, who always smiled every day, were frowning because of my situation. I can understand. They really wish they could ruin Daniel's reputation immediately. Logically speaking, the emotional ties during this time made it hard for them to decide on a complete breakup for me. It's all my fault. I've hesitated for too long and wasted my own time. I rested for 2 days, and after the checkup, there were no major issues. I was preparing to be discharged. While my parents were handling the discharge procedures, Emily suddenly appeared and found me. Her outfit reminded me of my university self, full of youthful energy. She wore a white dress, had her hair in a high ponytail, with some short bangs on her forehead. Although not particularly beautiful, she was full of youthful vitality. "Olivia, I heard you had a miscarriage. I'm really sorry to hear that." Emily smiled, looking smug, and then pulled out the examination report. "You can't have children, but I can. I'm pregnant now, and the baby is Daniel's brother's." If it weren't for my health issues, I would really want to slap Emily. I looked pale and glared at her in anger. "Did you come all this way just to say a few harsh words?" Emily shook her head, smiled, and sent a friend request on her phone. I was a bit confused, but I still clicked to accept, wanting to see what she really wanted to say. Emily forwarded a file that contained all her chat records with Daniel. Years ago, Daniel casually helped a few impoverished students on a platform. Emily was one of them. She successfully got into university and found Daniel's contact information through connections. They've been in touch for 3 years now. I recalled that 3 years ago was when my family was strongly supporting Daniel. Our savings suddenly increased, and our quality of life improved significantly. In fact, Daniel didn't do much for me. He devoted all his efforts to Emily instead. In the chat records, Daniel portrayed himself as a genuinely caring guy. "Emily, you don't need to worry about tuition and living expenses. Just leave it to me. Working is too tiring. I don't want you to suffer. What gift do you want for your birthday? Clothes, shoes, hats, necklaces, bracelets, designer bags. Just say what you want." Emily, I'm a bit annoyed. My girlfriend and I have been together for almost 10 years now. Seeing her feels like my left hand touching my right hand. There's no sense of novelty at all. My girlfriend's family pressures us to get married every year. It's really a headache. I don't know how much longer I can drag this out. Daniel and Emily's conversations started with simple exchanges and later turned into lengthy discussions. Their relationship became increasingly intimate, with boundaries becoming less clear. In the quiet of the night, they talked about some private topics, without any concerns. After quickly reviewing the chat history, I felt very uncomfortable inside. Emily saw my pale face, laughed happily, and teased me, saying, "Sister Olivia, you're really getting old. It's time to retire." Looking at my face, the crow's feet and nasolabial folds are so obvious. I suppressed my inner dissatisfaction, gritted my teeth, straightened up, slightly raised my chin, and looked at Emily. Maybe I give off a strong vibe. When I took a step towards Emily, she trembled and stepped back. Until I cornered her, she had nowhere else to retreat. "You, what do you want to do? Hitting someone is illegal. If you dare to do that, I will call the police." I coldly smiled and said slowly, "There will always be someone younger than you. There's nothing strange about that. Being young is an advantage, but if you are just young and not working hard, that's really a pity. Daniel spent so much money supporting you, yet none of you passed a single subject and ended up dropping out. If you could be more self-reliant, his contributions would be worthwhile. You and that guy Daniel really are a pair. I really want to see how well your relationship holds up when you're broke." In the end, I gave Emily a disdainful glance. Emily was very angry, shouting at me while I calmly said, "What does it matter? Haven't I already won?" I pushed past Emily, who was still complaining, and walked towards my parents, then turned back to mock her, saying that only those without ability focus on others. "I suggest you hurry up and make money, otherwise, when Daniel goes bankrupt, you'll have trouble even eating." Emily was still cursing loudly from behind. My parents and I started tallying up the money spent on Daniel over the years. Dad got angrier as he counted and eventually lost his temper. It took a while for my mom and me to calm down Dad's emotions. Fortunately, Daniel hasn't gotten married all these years. If he had really gotten a marriage certificate, it would have been a huge loss. A week later, the self-important Daniel lost his position as president. He came to me and asked, "Why am I being fired?" I sat in my comfortable office chair and leisurely replied, "Just because your branch is Smith. Aren't you quite capable? Then hurry up and take your Emily to start your own business. If you can develop independently and even compete with the Smiths one day, I will admire you even more." Daniel, lowering his attitude, was about to say a few flattering words to me when he was escorted out of the company by security called by Dad. I stood in the office on the top floor, feeling great as I watched the two of them in disgrace below. After a while, the most expensive restaurant in New York called. On the other end of the line, they said, "Miss Smith, your private room 58888 has been confirmed." I thought it was a scam call and quickly denied it. At that moment, Daniel switched to a different number and sent me a message. "Olivia, I've made a reservation at the restaurant you like. The day after tomorrow is your birthday. Our parents can meet and finalize the wedding plans." I kept rubbing my eyes to make sure I wasn't seeing things. This is truly speechless. We've clearly broken up. Why is Daniel still here causing trouble? The next morning, Daniel looked very dejected, standing outside my office building. Ryan detailed the recent bad situation between Daniel and Emily. "Daniel truly seems to realize he made a mistake. Do you think there's still a possibility?" I gave him a blank stare, and Ryan realized he had said the wrong thing, quickly shutting his mouth and leaving. No matter how the security tried to chase him away, Daniel just wouldn't leave the entrance. Feeling helpless, I had to go downstairs to scold him, repeating several times that we had broken up. "Should I write it on a piece of paper and stick it on your forehead?" As soon as Daniel saw me, he cautiously approached, wanting to hold my hand, but I instantly shook his hand off. We didn't break up, and I never agreed to. I couldn't help but laugh. Hasn't Daniel watched a lot of those overbearing CEO dramas? Legally, we have no relationship at all. Breaking up doesn't require your consent. We haven't registered our marriage either. If you like each other, stay together. If not, then part ways. What do you think? Daniel immediately said, "Then let's go register our marriage." I was stunned there. I've anticipated such sweet talk many times, I can't even count them anymore. When I graduated from university at 22, Daniel loved me very much. He wanted to propose, but he didn't have any money. At that time, he vowed to work hard to earn money and take me home. He stared at his account every day and told me that once he added a few more zeros, we could get married. My parents paved the way for him, and his career began to take off. He started earning a lot of money every day. However, I don't know when he stopped mentioning marriage. When I asked him, he always said he was too busy and tired, and told me to wait a little longer. I waited and waited, until my heart gradually grew cold, while his heart was given to someone else. My silence made Daniel tremble with anxiety. After a long time, I looked up at this most familiar yet unfamiliar person and said, "I've waited too long, I don't want to wait any longer. Daniel, let's just go back to our own lives." As I was leaving the office, I heard Daniel softly sobbing behind me. I wiped my tears and didn't turn around. I thought I had made myself very clear, but unexpectedly, 2 days later on my birthday, Daniel came to find me with his parents. My parents took me to a restaurant. If they clearly have problems, why should we hide? I'm curious to see what kind of parents could raise such a cold-hearted person. My parents told me that the money I spent on Daniel over the years is already gone and cannot be retrieved. This meal is meant to make them pay a price for that. As soon as the door to the private room opened, Daniel and his parents were already seated. From their expressions, it seemed they knew what was going on inside. "This must be Olivia. So beautiful. Come over and sit by Auntie." Daniel's mother was smiling especially happily as she pulled me over and handed me a big red envelope. I quickly waved my hands to refuse. "You and Daniel have been together for so many years, and we haven't met yet. This red envelope is Auntie's gesture. You must accept it. You all know it's been so many years, and now you only just think of meeting." Dad is a bit unhappy and bluntly points out the issue. Daniel's family changed their expressions, and the atmosphere became a bit awkward. "Isn't it that young people have their own plans? It seems we didn't take care of things well. I'll drink a glass first. Today is Olivia's birthday, and everyone is very happy." Daniel's dad stood up, raising his glass to liven up the atmosphere. Daniel also politely apologized to my parents. "Uncle and Aunt, we are not here to argue or cause trouble today." I raised my glass, took a deep breath, and tried to calm myself down before speaking slowly. Having been with Daniel for 10 years, although we didn't become partners, I don't want to establish an adversarial relationship. Since we've already broken up, we need to clarify Daniel's shares in the company. Otherwise, at first, Daniel's parents could calmly listen to me, but once it comes to dividing money, their attitude changes immediately. "This company belongs to my son. Why should it go to you? My son is the president and is going to make big money." I don't want to argue with the two elders, so I turned my gaze to Daniel. Mom and Dad, this company belongs to the Smith family. I'm just an employee, Daniel said seriously in a low voice. Absolutely not. I firmly disagree. Daniel's mom slammed the table, causing the dishes beside her to shake and fall. The plate shattered on the floor into many pieces. The waiter delivering dishes to the private room didn't dare to breathe loudly. My parents immediately stood up, facing each other without backing down, firmly stating that these do not belong to us, and we don't want a single cent. This is my daughter's. They can't take a single cent away. My parents protected me behind them and started arguing with Daniel's parents. The birthday party ended in chaos. Daniel's parents finally realized that their son's career had always been supported by the Smith family. I really don't understand. Clearly there is a real heiress to choose from, yet he insists on being with a poor guy named Emily. The door to the private room was kicked open. Emily, visibly distressed and heavily pregnant, walked in. Daniel, you bastard. You clearly said you would marry me. Daniel's parents looked very upset upon seeing this situation. Didn't I tell you to get an abortion? How could this happen? Emily sat at the door, crying and cursing Daniel for being irresponsible. I was sitting next to my parents, eating and recording videos on my phone. Daniel's family of 3 is arguing with Emily, and the atmosphere is quite heated. As my parents finished their meal and prepared to leave the restaurant, Daniel broke free from Emily's hold and tried to reconcile with me again. I looked at him, with some stubble on his face, and irritably rejected him, asking, "You wouldn't want to see me in court, would you?" Upon hearing this, Daniel lowered his head, looking very sad. Do we really have no chance anymore? I forwarded the chat records Emily sent me to Daniel. The chat records clearly showed the sweet things Daniel had said. Daniel, I know you once loved me. So, stop saying those unreliable things. My affection has disappeared in your repeated indifference. Your heart isn't in the right place. Even without Emily, there will be other young and beautiful girls in the future. The way you flirt with others is like a nail driven into my heart. Even if the nail is pulled out, there will still be a big hole left in my heart. After my birthday, I took a long vacation to travel and relax my mind. In the group chat of my friends, everyone occasionally discusses the arguments between Daniel and Emily during tough times. I have started to meet a few blind date candidates introduced by my parents from time to time. Everyone's character, family background, and image are all great, making me unable to resist feeling envious. I really want to go back in time and give myself a good lesson. Isn't it better to marry someone of equal social status? Why look for a partner in a garbage heap? Daniel stood in front of me in ragged clothes, and before he could say anything, my new boyfriend decisively threw a few bills at him. I silently gave my new boyfriend a thumbs up. This move was really brilliant. After that, Daniel's family never showed up again. I also accepted marrying a good man who is wealthy, handsome, and knowledgeable, and I am living a happy life.